Hello, beautiful Worthy Woman Collective audience. I have with me a beautiful guest whom we've had before, and with the feedback we got, and people were just like in love with Clarinda. But I mean, how can you not be? I wanted to have her come back because she's, like us, all continuing to grow and learn and experience. And so here she is, Miss Clarinda Mann. She's going to talk to us about astrology, astrocartography, human design. And we kind of started going before we hit record. And I was like, wait, we have to stop, because what will happen is something so juicy will come forward and we'll miss it in the recording. And I know I just want all of you to get all of the things, because she's brilliant. She's like gorgeous. She's energetically aligned. She's a projector. So take it away. Tell us all about you and your magic.
Well, thank you, Tara. So wonderful to be back with you, lovely person that you are. I'm so excited. My name is Clarinda Mann. I am a quantum human design level 3 specialist, astrologer, primarily focused on Hellenistic astrology. Astrocartography is my baby. And yeah, I do also do some energy work, energy healing, Reiki. Um, yeah.
You're a total fitness buff and you teach. Like, she does a lot more than she's really saying right now, probably because she's like, I don't want to freak you all out with all the things I do.
I love to teach Zumba. So
And we love it. Okay, so how do we even want to dive into this? It's funny, I pull a card before we get going because I'm like, what do people need to hear today from us and our energy? And Set Free is the card. So maybe we start there with, the astrocartography piece. Is like, it can be such a big change for someone to look at moving location, or, whether just locally, but even like globally, because I know when we talked and did a little bit on my own chart, for me to get what I want, according to my chart, physically moving myself, it was needing to go to a different country, and not a close country. We're talking like a very far away country, which is not an option right now. So, with this new, all the ability to, and we did talk about this before, but how can we set free the idea that we actually need to physically move ourselves, but aligning with the energy of that place or something like that? Have you come up with anything new we can kind of track down? Or
hmm. Setting ourselves free. So if we were going to go with that theme, before I even step into the astrocartography dynamic, I think that we all are getting pushes to be liberated in some way by Uranus
yes.
and by Jupiter and Saturn, making that square to Uranus in Taurus, so from Aquarius. So I think that we all are feeling that kind of push in one way or another, depending on which houses are being impacted by those signs and planets, to liberate ourselves from something. And so when we look at it from a perspective of astrocartography, I think that a lot of people find it challenging to see some of the recommendations I might offer for places that will liberate you or give you what you actually are wanting to find in life. So I think that some of it is changing our mindset a little bit. Um, Now,
Mm.
I mean, it's not what always,
I like where you're going here. Keep going.
it's not always what we want to hear, but sometimes it's what we need. And by making that shift, we might not have any idea of what like that life in that place looks like. And so I think it's interesting because astrocartography is such a personalized thing. So we're looking at your individual chart. We're looking at the dynamics that are at play for you specifically. And sometimes I get people where I'm like, the best place for you is the middle of nowhere in Kansas. And they're like, what? I don't want to live in Kansas, Clarinda. Like, I like the city. I like this. I said I want fun. I want this, and and I'm like, well, this is good though. This could be, it's like changing our mindset, because sometimes we get so fixed with the ideals of what we think are the best things for us until we get to that place and realize, Oh, okay.
Or the expectations. You find too, we come in with a lot of expectations, like it has to look this way because this is how I've been told it needs to look, or, from conditioning and all of it, like parental stuff. And like, if your family's lived in the same place for a long time, some people just never leave.
Yeah.
And there's this mindset, like you say, around that, which is so interesting that you're talking about, mindset, because it's part of like a new program I'm launching called like Worth
Mhm.
Alchemy Limitless, which is all around limitless thinking and limitless expansion of all the things.
Right.
And it's so funny. I'll share this with you because maybe you can resonate or help me like define this even further. But I like to think as Uranus is like this rogue entrepreneur who
Mhm.
is like been trying all the things, it's like they've been doing what they've had to do, but now all of a sudden they're like, you know what? I just want to do whatever I want to do. And I'm just going to go like all in, like an entrepreneur would go crazy and just, make something happen out of nothing.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I feel like that's the kind of energy we're in right now. It's like this rogue entrepreneur energy.
I love it. I love it. The rogue, free yourself. Like, how can you get free? I mean, freedom at any cost is that the feeling I get from Uranus right now. It's like,
Mm,
especially with the tension from the square, because it's like the square from Aquarius, these are 90-degree aspects that create tension. And the way that we relieve this tension is something's got to give. We've got to let go of something. So,
try something new.
yes, we have to try something new. And because Aquarius is so connected to the mind, let's change the way we think to get some new results in the material realm, which Uranus is in Taurus, a Earth sign. So,
But staying grounded, because I
yes,
feel like a lot of people are all up here trying to figure out the how and the why and all the things, but they're so out of their bodies.
yes, we do. I mean, staying grounded right now and not all in our head about it, not overthinking. And where have our thoughts kept us, enslaved? Honestly, that's the best word I can.
Oh, yeah.
Where have we been a victim to our thoughts? And what is
Mhm.
Uranus trying to tell us? Where do we need to be set free? So, I mean, maybe in the middle of nowhere, Kansas is like this perfect place, and we just didn't know it. When I talk, I use myself as an example because I did it, like I've lived it, and I can say I never wanted to live on the East Coast ever. I was like, never. I told my family I would never live on the East Coast. I would never be. No, I don't even like it.
Never
I
say
want to live
never.
out west. I like California. I like Arizona. I'm not going east. And then I started having those issues out there, and I got into astrocartography, and they're like, your best places are on the East Coast. I was like, isn't that something? Isn't that the most? Like, I said I didn't like that. Universe said, this is where you need to go.
But isn't that the
So
way?
it is the way.
Oh,
It is
yeah.
literally so the way. And so eventually, because I got so uncomfortable, I had to do something about it. I
Yeah.
got pushed out to make a change. And I literally packed my car up and drove across the country. And I do not regret the move at all. So I absolutely love the fact that I did it.
Yes.
And now I'm like, I would never go back out west, only for a vacation. I don't want to live out there again because now I know what that feels like. And I know the difference. So now we're
But you
like,
took the chance. So,
I did.
some
Yeah.
people are too afraid to take that chance just because of this like limiting beliefs and this
Yeah.
limiting system that we nobody really places this on us. It's a belief we accept.
Yeah.
We hear this and we're like, oh, okay, well, I guess I can't really
Yeah.
explore all aspects of myself, all aspects of the world, like all the corners of the globe, because if I go here, I heard that so and so said this would happen to me, and then we get this idea that, oh, we limit ourselves based on, conditioning,
Yes.
social imprintation. Imprintation, is that even a word?
It sounded great,
Sounded
Terry.
great,
You
right?
can make it a
Okay, it's a
word.
new
Yeah.
word.
The word now.
Imprintation.
I like it.
You can borrow
The
that.
word.
That's one of my rogue entrepreneur
There
words.
you
Today,
go.
I could have my own dictionary. But you know what I'm saying? It's like I'm really playing with this a lot lately, in my own world, because I realize everything is just a thought away. Like I looked, one of the things I've really been intentional about this year is getting down with my moon, like really getting into the flow of the moon because of the candles that I've been creating. I've been aligning with the new moon like deeply and trying to sync up with the power of creation, or creating under the power of the
Mhm.
sequencing of the moon, right? And how this ancient wisdom has been around forever, yet we don't even pay attention to it as much as we could. So I've been really conscious about, setting my wishes under the new moon, setting in motion a beautiful product for other people to do the same. But today it's February 1st. So I looked back to January and I pull a sequence of cards for 6 months. So I kind of like
Mhm.
forecast for 6 months ahead. And then I
Yeah.
pull cards specific to like health, wealth, relationships. And I'm just want to reflect back on my January to be like, what happened? What did I do?
Mhm.
And one of the biggest things I set intentions or wishes that are a little like they're not easy. They're like stretch. Some of them, because I feel when you're making these, we make them so if we can figure out how we're going to do it just by when we write it down, we're like, oh yeah, I can do that.
Right.
It's not juicy enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
You need.
doesn't leave room for mystery or the
Mhm.
magic.
Yeah.
Because like, this is the whole part of us being living in this physical experience is like, we get to trust that universe is going to help us out. And
Yeah.
here's the best way to trial and error it is in a month cycle. So I put this juicy goal down of like, I wanted to take this course with this woman. It was way above a price point I had been very comfortable with, but I was like, I want this to come easily and effortless to me. I did it before the end of January. And I forgot. I looked back and I was like, oh my God, that was one of my wishes. And I
Yes.
just looked and I was like, bang, bang, like so many of them. And I'm like, wow, this is the power we have, yet we're so limited. It's time to set yourself free, friends. Like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, what can we do? What could we create if we stopped being afraid of the how?
Yeah, and that's the thing, the how we get so stuck there, instead of the allow. I think
Ooh,
how instead of the allow.
uh-huh.
And like if we tie in the quantum human design, and we start thinking about like even the spleen and the gates that get activated, like the fears that
Yes.
are keeping us from, you know, doing what we really want to do. How do we get in our own way and limit ourselves? I think that with everything, like with the astrocartography, with it all, if we allow ourselves to just imagine even and get that set way of being, it's so much more. And I'm starting to see now clients that are actually doing this, and I'm getting some feedback that it just makes me excited because I'm like, I am so happy that you did do, you tried this
You
and
did something.
you saw it for yourself. Like you saw and felt that energy shift when you crossed this line. And you now like, okay, this was worth it. And so if we get that like idea of what it has to look like out the way and just go with what feels right, I think we're on the right path.
Oh, yeah. Like moving into the feeling side of things is the key here. And it's so interesting that I don't even know. We didn't really have a plan with how we were going to track this whole podcast episode, but I just feel like with Clarinda, we just got to let it go. Let it flow. Let it flow. And one of the things I've been noticing lately too with the feeling on the feeling conversation is that, you know, paying more attention to how I feel about certain things before, like, so for food specifically,
Mhm.
okay? Because like since my fitness competition, it's been a real challenge to discipline myself because I think I was so disciplined that I rebelled against the discipline, the routine. And so we can talk about where that shows up in my own chart for other people to look at as well. But I what I do is instead of giving myself time to dwell on how restrictive I'm being, or like how I'm not eating like cake for breakfast or pizza for breakfast, I'm being more mindful about having a smoothie
Yeah.
instead of me being like, oh, it's a crappy smoothie, I don't want to eat this, I'd rather eat like a bagel and cream cheese, I just go, I pull all the things out and just make the smoothie without letting my mind run wild in how annoying what I'm doing is. Because as soon as you distract yourself, you forget about it.
Yeah.
And it's in an instant.
Yeah.
It's in an instant how quickly we can change the way we think about things. And it's like where our attention goes, our energy flows, right? So
Yeah.
if we're focused on how it feels crappy to eat, drink a smoothie, and it would feel so much more exciting and pleasurable to enjoy cake or pizza, like it's just that it can be switched like this so quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think we can shift our perceptions,
Yeah.
our thinking in a blink of an eye if we want.
And I will say, like, Clarinda helped me to really see something on the natal. Okay, so now I want to just share my screen so that, and for those of you who are just listening to the podcast, you can always go back and watch this on YouTube because we'll post it there in the podcast section as well. But I wanted to just get Clarinda to talk a little bit about this. I found it so fascinating. And we were in a course together talking about conundrums in the charts.
Mhm.
And this is one of the ones that I never noticed before because I know I need routine. That's the 5,
Mhm.
right? Having a rhythm and routine and rituals, that's a big deal. When I don't have that, my days can go a little sideways. But then that I also have this 15, which is all about compassion, but she's also a
Yeah.
little wild and a little rogue. So rogue is the word of the day, friends. Okay, so take it away and I can circle.
Oh yeah, we were talking about how when we look at human design, we often don't incorporate the ascendant or the midheaven points, which are extremely important astrological points. And so, when you're talking about the need for routine and structure, we noticed that your midheaven is right in the 15. So that is that gate of compassion, according to Quantum Human Design by Karen Curry Parker. And this gate has its own flow and its own energy. It's there to kind of shake things up a little bit. And so as you are stepping into wanting to set your routines and get this routine, here comes that energy saying, nope, let's do it this way. We want to change things up a little bit. This is not working for me. So it's kind of that dynamic of push and pull. And I think that at the end of the day, it's, loving yourself and having compassion with yourself about that. Like, maybe you won't be always having the same routine and you need a little bit of that shifting to happen so that you can be more successful, because the midheaven is all about career status in the world. And so you need a little bit of shakeup there. And that's part of how your design is operating. And that's probably going to lead you to being more successful just by embracing that energy. I thought it was a really interesting dynamic, because that, I think, that is a conundrum in itself, the need for the routine, and then that other energy that comes along and says, well, the routine has gotten boring, I need to shake it up a little bit, we're going to do it this way.
And that's interesting. So for those of you who don't understand that, 515 is actually the channel. What's that channel called? Do you know off the top of your head?
Oh goodness.
Let me just, I've got it here. So, well, I mean, it's just something interesting to think about because, a lot of us who look at our human design, we see the actual human design chart, but we don't talk so specifically about channels unless like we're going deep, because otherwise it just gets a little overwhelming and people's heads start to pop off, and we don't want your head to pop off.
Right.
We don't want you to be overwhelmed with the details. Oh, it's the rhythm. It's the channel of rhythm.
Which that 15 has its own unique rhythm that it needs to embrace.
It's like the ability to being in the flow and alignment of natural order. The ability to know when to align and to abandon the pattern for the sake of growing in compassion.
Mm,
And the big
powerful.
one, I think, is like compassion for self,
Yeah.
because there is this battle going on between, let's see, my Neptune is also in the 5, right? So
Yeah.
that's about flow. And I think tapping into the intuitiveness of what is a good flow for me to be in.
Yeah, and then too, it's also part of your spiritual purpose with Neptune's. When we're looking at from the quantum human design perspective, Neptune has a lot to do with spiritual purpose. So, part of your spiritual purpose is to honor your routines. At the same time, you've got that 15 that is striving to. Sometimes I think it's needed though to find compassion, for yourself, and that the routine may need to shift sometimes. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of a blessing in disguise, though, because how often do we get stuck in patterns and routines that are no longer serving us?
100%.
And that 15's energy, really, at the end of the day, is about getting us out of that stuck place. When a routine is no longer working, then it's coming in and shaking things up so that we can become more aligned with the thing that's the next right routine that we need to get into, the next right thing.
Yeah, and I think it's like, for me, I saw this as like, whoa, you need to give yourself permission to be able to like switch gears when it's not working anymore.
Mhm.
Not because like, well, and here's where I could get stuck. It's like, because, oh, well, other people do it this way, so I need to do it this way. But if I can foresee, oh, well, this isn't going to work for what I'm trying to do or what I want to do, or it doesn't feel good to me to do it this way, this rigid way, it's time for me to set free that
Yeah.
idea. And as I'm setting it free, giving myself the compassion and understanding that, hey, this is how we got to go.
Yeah, I think that theme of setting ourselves free is coming up in a lot of ways, but I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge one, to be compassionate with yourself and not be hard on yourself for not having the same routine as other people might have, and that's okay.
Yeah. And so why this was a conundrum was because the MC isn't really noted as, like, see, it doesn't even show up as a channel technically on the chart anywhere, but we can see the connection between them. Do you know what I'm saying? So that was
Definitely.
a sneaky one.
Yeah, it was. And that 46, the ascendant too. That at 46, that one was I think that the angles actually, when we look at the gates that they are impacting, are quite interesting to incorporate into the rest of our chart, because we also look at Chiron, but we don't, that doesn't complete a channel either.
So the AC is squaring
Hmm. Yeah.
the IC
And the MC.
and the MC.
Yeah.
So what does
Yeah.
that mean? Tell us what that means.
Well, a square is a 90-degree angle that it creates tension. And so, like we were talking about with Uranus and Saturn and Jupiter, with that square aspect, you got to let go of something. Something's got to give. It'll create tension though until we do. So, what do we need to let go of? What beliefs or thoughts have been holding us back that we need to let go of, so that we can really step into alignment with who we are?
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And those gates both are interesting ones when you look at it.
So deep, something to think about. Like, what do I need to let go of? So if we're looking at the IC just as far as it's connecting to the chart, it's in the 10, which is self-love.
Yes, yeah. And the IC point
Mhm.
is actually strongly connected to our roots, our home, our inner self, our inner workings. So we're seeing some big gates actually getting activated by the angles here.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. The 10 is always one that we want to pay attention to when we see it.
And it's
It
at 222 degrees, I might add.
at 222. Yeah. Nurturing and loving yourself, definitely.
Interesting. There's a lot of that going on. And so it's part of what I teach is like self-worth is all about learning to love and accept yourself. So people, I'm doing this myself too.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like you're part of your design. You were made to do this.
I was made for this work, my friends. Yeah. I mean, my moon is in Scorpio, which is in the one, consciously. And I know it's just like my bigger calling is definitely self-worth. It's in the second house. It's all around self-worth. So is you see my little rogue entrepreneur in there. Uranus is in there in the 44.
Yep. Send
My
me
rogue
free.
entrepreneur is like, keep in truth, sister, or else.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
then it's interesting because also my north node is in the 28. Well,
Mm,
that creates that uh, a little bit of tension around
yeah.
speaking from challenge and experience,
Yes.
right?
Yep. That 28 definitely. Challenge, adventure, traditionally connected to the gate of, known as the struggle gate. So yeah, definitely one of those other ones to take a look at when we're looking at the gates of the chart.
And so, this is fun. And I didn't even have us planned to go here. I'm so glad we did, obviously, because it's so interesting to, even though you know so much about your own chart, it's like there's still so much to learn and to know and to grow into
Yeah,
or to navigate, like you say, these challenges. So thank you for that.
no problem.
And
Yeah.
I would love to talk to you about because we talked briefly about the Venus line, and Venus is I'm very called to Venus these days and about that creative expression and creative flow, and how I do feel like she's really stepping so forward for so many of us right now.
Mhm.
So when you look at the Venus line in astrocartography, what do you think she symbolizes there? Same as everywhere else, like self love, our worth, money.
So it depends on which angle she's on. But Venus as like archetype, yes. Finances for sure. Um, she can be love, she can be romance, she can be beauty, things of beauty and works of beauty, art, creativity. So I think I kind of connected to that. Now I live on one of my Venus lines. She is aspecting my ascendant. So from my perspective, living on my Venus ascendant line, I have noticed um, big improvements with health because the first house signifies the body. I have noticed big improvements with self-worth and confidence with her being impacting that line. Also, even though the first house opposes the seventh, I have noticed also improvements in relationships. But my Jupiter is making an impact to my descendant line. So that's in the seventh house of relationships. So yes, with Venus, I do definitely feel that she has helped me with self-worth, self-value, based on her being in the first house. If Venus were more so moved to the 10th house or the midheaven, I would expect to see potentials increasing with career,
Mhm.
because that midheaven point is going to affect our status, our career, our occupation. So yeah, just depending on the angles that we're putting her on, we would see that kind of theme come out with Venus.
And I guess, for anyone listening to today's podcast episode, like, what do you hope everyone gains from working with you in understanding? Well, I mean, you teach them how to understand themselves, but understanding how important their location is and how they can be unconsciously impacted by their location.
Yeah. I think the first thing that I hope to convey to people is awareness. Awareness of the dynamics that are at play in the locations that they are in. Because, I do a scoring system, but at the end of the day, prior to using that scoring system, it was based all solely on looking at the charts and doing the relocation of the chart. And here's, I'm looking at where these houses are, which houses are being impacted in locations, and talking to people about and explaining what's actually happening when you're here. Like what energies are at play and how is it impacting your life, and how by making some subtle shifts, sometimes subtle or sometimes big, we can make huge shifts in how your life is playing out for you.
Mm.
I mean, especially when I start seeing people that have really challenging planets, like in the ascendant, near the ascendant line, or that they have hard planets in the sixth house, which is connected to health. And by shifting things around, we can create a situation where they see major improvements in health or with the way that they're feeling in their body. We can see major improvements with career when we take a strong planet and start getting it closer to the midheaven. So I just really think that I want people to know, to be aware of the dynamics that are going on, what is really happening, where you're at, and why these things have been, the way they have, so that they can see for themselves and be informed about the decisions that they're making. I want people to be able to make an informed decision, and I give potentials. I'm showing potentials, giving awareness, not telling somebody to just go do something blindly.
Right.
Follow your strategy and authority
Yes.
when making decisions all times. But I'm going to give potentials and, investigate these potentials, experiment, go visit some of these places and see, how does it feel in your body? How does it, is it accurate for you? And then based on that information, do what you need to do. If you need to move,
Mhm.
make the move. If once you see the difference, like sometimes we got to do that experiment and go to a place we never thought we would like, to see how we feel in our body when we're there. And if it is in alignment, it just will, it's like it's going to fall into place. So, I mean,
Yeah, and setting that wish under your new moon, if that's what you want to do, is like shifting gears. But I wonder, what can we encourage people to do in the meantime? Because with travel still being limited, of course, and even last time we talked, like we can't travel as freely as we used to be able to at this point,
right.
anyways. I'm sure at some point this will start to shift again, but how are we able to call in, maybe it's like turning our desk in a certain way, like it can be feng shui connected to, I wonder. Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually wonder if the lines, like, so,
Mhm.
your Venus, Jupiter, and all the lines, if they run through the house, kind of
They
like the feng shui chart does, right?
they do. They now that's something definitely a little bit more technical. I have not focused completely on, but they
Yeah.
do. The lines do. There's certain aspects and dynamics in the home where you can situate things.
Ooh, listen,
And
Clarinda, I can see this as a place for you to focus now because people can't move so freely.
yeah, they can, and it's true. I've done a little bit of research into it. Certain directions and places in the home, certain lines will be impacting. So usually
Ooh.
people will notice it in their home. If there's a room that you really are drawn to, that you always feel really good in, like this is my Venus room. I already know. This room that I'm in right now, my office is my Venus room. I love being in this room, and it's my happy place. So these rooms in our homes, yeah, we can get to beneficial lines in there that will start making some improvement. Another thing, let's be real, we've got to do some inner work. A lot of times,
100%.
a lot of times that's going to make huge shifts before we even can get to the locations, like emotional freedom techniques. I love those, energy healing and work, meditation, connecting spiritually. This cannot be like overstated, the importance of how much we need to be doing that work as well.
Definitely. And like, this is the thing I think we all need to understand is, or be reminded of, because we do understand this fundamentally, but it's that this element of, oh, we do it once or twice, and we go to a reading, or we experience this practitioner, this Reiki session, and we want to be healed, cured, and everything solved in like this. And
Right.
while that could be a possibility to get you on the track or trajectory to going to transforming everything, it's that there needs to be this element of commitment to it and dedication to it. And this is what I'm realizing even more, although I'm well aware of this. It's like, where am I going to discipline myself
Mhm.
to remind myself of the potentials as opposed to the limits, and the ability that it's like our energy is in our control no matter what is happening outside of us.
Yes.
We Our energy shows up before we do. So if your energy is in need of an overhaul, or you're feeling like flat, what do you need to do? Like you say, doing EFT, or doing, the RTT, or whatever it is that's the modality you want to dabble in. Try it. What's the worst thing that happens? You fall in love with it and it changes your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. I think that, astrocartography is an amazing tool. I just also think that we need to do our own, we all have work that we need to do on ourselves, usually that we've all been holding on to some type of trauma conditioning, limiting beliefs that we need to work through and clear out. And that will start giving us a little bit more of a pleasant experience where we're at, irregardless, and then we start making those big shifts as we can. Um,
Accepting too that this is a lifelong learning experience, that you're never done, because like you're always growing to a new level and experiencing new triggers, new limits, new
yeah,
things. So
yeah,
it's like you're never done, and the moment you can just learn to embrace that and be one with the challenges, or the all the fun that's ahead for you, it'll be that much more delightful and pleasurable while you're in the process.
yeah. And you'll be set free.
You'll be set free, back to set free. So thank you so much, Clarinda. You're amazing. I love having you on the podcast. I
Thank you.
know our people love to hear from you and your wisdom. You always bring such a new, fun, light energy to the podcast. So I'm just so grateful for you and your beautiful projector vibes.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you too.
Thank
You
you.
initiate us into all of these things.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was like. Let's get this going. Like, come on, Clarina, come back. Come back. Here's the link. Book your time. All right. So thank you, everyone, for listening to today's podcast episode. And we'll be back next week. And so, as we close out this week's episode, I want to first thank Clarinda for being so amazing, sharing her wisdom and her love with all of us. But I also want to let you know that this particular episode has been sponsored by my new masterclass, which is Worth Secrets. It is going to be an amazing opportunity to dive into the top 3 secrets that will completely change your life. It is all around worth, how to value yourself, how to understand your energetic signature, and where you may be overgiving. So we're going to talk about that 7/8 of the population does not know how worthy they are. They have no idea about their self-worth or their value. That's a lot of people. So that's secret number 1. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about overgiving. Giving is not cute. It's not something that we get an award for. It's actually something that will completely burn us out. And then we'll talk about your beautiful energy, how to become more captivating through the power of your most gorgeous energetic frequency. Because what you put out, really, it's what determines the level of magnetism you bring back towards you. So all the details for the masterclass will be in the links below this video. I can't wait to have you in it. It starts on March the 1st at 8:30 p.m. and it is going to be a total game changer. So thanks again for listening to today's Worthy Woman Collective podcast, and I will see you very soon.